All right, everyone. Here we go. Well, pow, there's the lease in. This is episode number 9. Episode 9 of season 3 of Facecheck. The regular season of the 2021 spring split is over. We've got most of the same top teams that we got during the lock-in tournament, except Surprise Dignitas, who was coming into the week 6, the final week of play at second
I like
place.
LS's cam.
You like that?
Yeah.
It's the face.
Whoa, LS, how'd you get your cam in Twitch chat too? What the heck?
Yeah.
LS, Dom, myself, obviously here. LS, you may have heard he moved. He bought himself a mansion in Incheon, and now.
I also heard he's a fraud that is wrong about 99% of what he says. So
yeah,
I've heard some shit about you, motherfucker.
True.
To the point where Dom had to put out a statement. I saw Dom's statement too, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is what all the haters been waiting for. They're like, wait till Dom has to say something. He worked with both of them. And then
True.
What the take am I supposed to have, man? Like, I don't like, they disagree with each other. Like, so I have to disagree with, I'll be the one that settles it, guys. Like, what the
big
fuck?
sides.
Yeah. Actually, I think LS is only wrong about 27.3% of what he says. It's like, okay, man.
So
We did it.
before we dive into that, LS, how are you, man? How's the new
Well,
abode?
No, well, so I'm temporarily at Scarlett's apartment. Do you know Scarlett from StarCraft?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at Scarlett's house because she's not here because COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here and there's no heat or water. So I have a space heater that shuts off every 30 minutes. And I keep my PC and my monitors on at all time to also add extra heat. So living the life. Haven't showered in 6 days.
Wait, what? 6
I have
days?
not
Wait,
showered.
That's extra.
What?
I can't. How do I shower?
Wait, now, how long have you not had water for? Wait, what? Like,
6 days.
Like
you've actually not had water for 6 days? Damn,
Yes.
I was at 4 days when I lost like heat and water and everything during like the Texas snowstorm, and four days feels bad, man. You start feeling like
You feel
sticky.
the extra weight of the stickiness and the
yeah,
stinkiness.
you get like sticky, man. It's fucked up.
I'm in the middle of like nowhere, right? Where I am right now, and I think the nearest place that I could go and shower, it would cost me probably somewhere around like $30. Which is
Oh
insane.
wow, $30, and he's not gonna shower for $30.
Guys,
That is a waste
guys,
of money.
we,
What the fuck is wrong?
what
with
is
you?
wrong with
It's
you, dude?
$30. You literally have a tier 2 hype train right now. You dirty motherfucker. I can't even. I don't even know what to say
Yeah.
about you.
We're gonna side with Caden now. Literally stinky, dude. Literally stinky.
Literally smells.
Well, I'm glad you have a place to stay. I'm glad your space heater works most of the time. I'm upset that you haven't showered. Dom, how was your co-stream? How was your week, brother?
My week's been good. I've been catching up on other regions. I've been I actually messaged LS earlier this week because I was watching LCK, and my god, the casting situation there is rough. They need this motherfucker back. They need him bad. Like it is really rough over there.
Okay. I don't like throwing shade, but who's over there right now? Is it
I gotta go to the
Wolf, right?
bathroom.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
there's this guy like I don't know, man. I was just watching LCK. Like the most obvious interaction happened. Like the Rek'Sai just missed a flash knockup, and they spent like 5 minutes. They're like, man, what? I don't know. I mean, let's reanalyze the play. I mean, it looks like the knockup didn't go off there. I wonder if he actually pressed W before he Like, come on. It was actually crazy. So. For me, man, like I don't know. That's been my takeaways. Is, like LCK, it looks like LCK. Casting is rough.
I mean, remote casting's all
Okay.
over the world right now, Dom. Maybe this is it. Maybe
I'll be really honest that so when I do the co-streams, right, I get distracted by audio, so I don't play with sound. So I don't know what is totally going on to like what you're talking about, right? But I will. Atlas is obviously world class, right? Like he's
yeah,
he's one of the best
no,
casters
yeah,
in the
exactly.
entire world.
I'm only talking about color. The play by play, like Atlas is like fucking insane. But
Atlas
the
is insane.
but
Valdez
play
is
by
really good.
The play-by-play is on a different level
listened.
of color.
Yeah.
What happened to
Valdez?
No. Ejim. Is Ejim still there?
So Ejim, here's the story about what happened to Ejim. Ejim decided to cast LCK, so he left his jobs in OPL at the time, right? And he got his visa, and then as he got his visa, it was approved really late, and then as it was approved, Australia blocked citizens from leaving the country. So he couldn't,
COVID,
he couldn't go to Korea. For some reason, they couldn't get the technology to work to do remote casting. He kept having really bad latency, and it was impossible to like match up, and he would disconnect a lot. So what would end up happening is he would eventually start seeing a feed that was different than the play-by-play. So then after this, he got his visa again, but then still couldn't enter the country. I think after everything that happened with this, he was so put off by esports and the fact that he didn't get any pay or like anything. Well, I don't know. Maybe he got compensation. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he did. I think he was so turned off by esports. He hasn't liked a tweet since September. And I think he just quit the entire industry.
Damn.
Yeah,
I think that's all that I've heard. I'm not his friend, so I don't know. But I mean, you can go on his Twitter and see it's a ghost town. He hasn't liked or done anything since September. Yeah. I mean, that's actually career ending. It's career ruining. Imagine not working for an entire year. And then it's brutal.
Yeah, no, it's fucked up. Like it's like a fucking riot just like banned you from whatever you were succeeding at for a year. That would fucking suck. Like,
twice.
Holy fuck, twice. No, it was worse as a player. Like co-streaming was bad, but as a player, that was one where it was like legitimately like insanely depressing.
Was there a world where you thought about, or what did you do in that
suicide?
Time? No. What did you do in that time? Did you think about going to school or something?
No, like I was actually like severely
Wasn't
depressed.
It stocks? Oh,
like actually depressed. No, I
believe
literally
it.
Just played League, and it was super depressing because I could never I was just watching LCS, and it was like, yeah, it was insanely depressing. That's all I'll say. Like God. It was just like
you're dumpstering kids and you're watching. Who's the jungler? Was it? Who's the jungler at that time? Who was XDG's jungler? Was that Benny?
Xsmithy?
Was it Xsmithy? After Xsmithy left, or was he there the whole time?
Oh my
Zuna?
dude!
Oh, it was Zuna. That's what it was.
I just want to point out the Xsmithy, like the Xsmithy thing, right? He was like regarded as like the GOAT in NA, and everyone always said that he was so good, without applying context to like his teammates and the teams that he was on.
That was me,
right? Rather than just actually assessing his actual individual gameplay. I mean, this is how I always felt. And then as soon as he left, I mean, it's just over, right? He went the same way as what was his name, X Special, right? Thinking that he's a lot better than he is, and then he couldn't get a team, and then nothing, right? It's just crickets ever since.
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, it's crazy. Like the thing for me, I mean, Degon knows, right? Like I was branded as the Xsmithy hater, like on our show because I didn't think he was that good. I think the thing about a player like that is like you can be smart about the game, but like he couldn't actually like out mechanic other junglers if need be. So I mean, the only thing he had going for him is like pathing and stuff like that. And if you put him on a good team where all his lanes are winning, like I mean, he knows what to do. He knows how to play with winning lanes. I mean, it's not rocket science playing with winning lanes. It's when things are not going well for your laners, how you like actually end up dealing with
what
that.
What was TL's problem then? Would you say?
What was TL's problem? Well, I mean, I think I mean, they would win in NA, right? But then I feel like when they would go international, they wouldn't actually just have like winning lanes. So then they have no winning lanes, and then he has to play the game from even, and they just weren't able to like actually utilize their jungler in a way to like get advantages. Also, they couldn't play through jungle, right? Like all good teams know how to play through jungle. If the jungle gets lead, or like in certain metas, you have to do it. Like Graves and Illy meta, you have to do it. So they know how to like enable their jungler to get ahead. And I don't feel like TL ever did that. You know, like I feel like that's always been something that would be like Jensen's and like Doubleof's weakness is they want to play through lanes. Like they don't want to sacrifice to be like first moving for a fight or something like that. They want to make sure that they always have CS lead, that they're always getting good base timers and things like that. They don't really care about like how they can snowball the game through their jungler. You know, like they're the carries. So I think that was also the issue.
The insider analysis while Dom was over there. And now Dom gives us the insider analysis on how Cloud9 is going to succeed or do on the international stage. Let's see. There was one more, I think, off-topic, not timely thing that I want to hit. This was from, again, your co-stream, LS. Your professional journey. Dom, do you know LS's professional journey? Because he outlined it on his stream, and I thought it was insanely interesting, and I didn't know some of these twists and turns that were there, including like the CLG stint as a player. That to me was really interesting.
LS was a player?
So in season, so I switched to league. I switched to league in preseason 4. In 2.5 months, I hit Diamond 1 on Korea. So Challenger was 50 slots, right? And Master didn't exist yet, right? So I grinded like 16 hours a day, always watching VODs and stuff. And obviously I had help from some Korean friends, right? Because I had lived at Samsung. And I hit Diamond 1, and then after about a month, I hit like mid Diamond 1, so that's like January, like mid high Diamond 1 on Korea. And I was to test for some Korean teams, and I lost a tryout to Khan on Prime. I think Prime Sentinel was the name of the team.
Shitter.
Yeah, I was talking with the coach. I was supposed to test. I had to role swap from mid to top lane. And then Khan ended up getting the top lane thing. Anyways, after that, I was playing Heroes of the Storm for a bit, but then the CLG opportunity came up. And I was talking with Monte Cristo, and he just thought personality-wise I wouldn't mesh with the team, even if I was like eligible to go and do it and all that other stuff. And then Seraph ended up going. And then after that, I went back to playing Heroes of the Storm for a little bit, and then the other stuff happened with like the coaching bod that went up on Reddit and like blew up, and here I am.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wait, Heroes of the Storm was actually an underrated game. I swear. I actually liked that game.
I liked it a lot at first, and then I don't know. I don't know.
Didn't you like? Yeah, I just thought that was interesting because I didn't.
I'm just trying to picture an alternate reality where Khan is actually like the one that's like commentating on Twitch, and then LS is like just like the one white guy playing in Korea, like he's like winning championships like on Longju with Praying Gorilla. Like, holy fuck, that's actually insane. That's the best timeline.
Yeah, it was just a really interesting fact when he brought it up, and I was like, I do a lot of my research. I had no idea. I had no idea about that, and I was wondering if you knew, Dom. And this was before you ended up like analyst coaching CLG? Like how did all that come about?
No. So what happened is I was streaming to like 20 viewers, like Heroes of the Storm, right? I was I think I was highest rated in Heroes of the Storm, like beta or alpha or whatever the fuck it was. And then a guy came into my chat and he's like, "Hey, can you coach me in League?" And he was an Italy player, and I gave him a coaching session, and that coaching session went up on Reddit, and it got number 1 on Reddit.
That coaching mod, I remember seeing it. You're like, so like as like when you're playing against a champion with the skill shot, you want to stand behind the minions because like the width of the skill shot like won't be able to like penetrate the minion. And people were like, "What? Whoa! Like, you can stand behind the goddamn minions?" Like, fuck.
Revolutionary. So after that, I uploaded a JSPOD the next day, and the same thing happened. I think I got number 1 and number 2 Reddit, and then after that, I mean, I'm like, oh, this is actually viable. So I kept doing coaching sessions, and I kept getting high MMR players that kept messaging me. And then Super Hot Crew's manager messaged me saying that like the pro players on his team were watching my videos and asked if I would be a coach for the team. And that's how I joined ULCS. So I literally went from complete unknown, no involvement in the Western scene, to putting videos on Reddit to joining LEC equivalently in like 4 weeks. It's a weird road.
And I'm just sitting there fucking banned, like getting like rank 1, like, please someone pick me up. Please, I'm not toxic, I swear. They're like, all right, motherfucker, like, you can join this like 6th place, like disheveled ass curse team where like the team's falling apart and you have to play in the relegation tournament. tournament, even though you didn't actually get relegated yourself. It's like, what the fuck? Jesus.
Wonderful.
All right. Nice.
All right. Yeah, there it is. I just wanted to hit the story time just because, again, I thought that was fascinating, cool, and because of the delays today, the matches are a little bit further out of the mind than usual. They're usually fresh takes on Monday. Got them baked for you. Now you get the crusty takes where we have to just go with the evergreen stuff that doesn't go bad, like LS's journey to.
Can I flame
coaching.
Golden Guardians yet, or like when do we get to do that?
I was gonna say we should probably do Immortals first, but go ahead. We already did our vigil for Golden Guardians. We can hit Golden Guardians first, as they were already out. They weren't in contention. They won a game. They won a game.
Yeah.
To tie the worst record in Golden Guardians history. Man, some idiot must have been in charge of that. Oh, fuck, that was me. All right, go ahead, Dom. Flame this version of Golden Guardians.
So I'm not flaming the team, really. I feel like this team is not set up for success at all. But there's like so many different layers where like I wasn't really considering it going into it. I kind of bought the whole like, oh, it's a development team, right? Where it's like, if a team is developing players, then you can't flame them because the idea is that like, you know, it's a work in progress and, you know, the results are going to be down the line. When I think about Golden Guardians as an org, I'm like really like kind of upset with the way that they've like ran everything for the last 4 years. It feels like they're always a development team, right? Like the first team that you were coaching or like you were a GM for, whatever your position was. I think you were GM. Were you GM?
No, yeah. Team manager.
Okay,
team manager. We didn't have a GM, which was an issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys didn't even have a GM. Like that was a development roster. It was High and a bunch of young players. It was gonna be like, all right, High's gonna lead the young players. And you know, last year was another development roster that they ended up just getting lucky with Closer and FBI actually being beasts. But it was supposed to be a development roster. I mean, it was just like a bunch of academy players, essentially like players from like minor regions. And my issue is that it doesn't feel like they're ever going to like be competitive in the league. It doesn't feel like they're willing to pay salaries. So it feels like, sure, they're like developing players, but if the players end up developing, they're just going to fucking sell them, which is like,
Right.
So you're just going to have this team in the league that is not actually trying to like level up the competition. They're just trying to exist and like make money or like stay afloat. Like they don't really want to like put an investment into the league. And to me, it's like really concerning because I don't think that it's healthy for a team to be consistently like bad. And Golden Guardians is always one of like the bottom teams, besides for that 1 year where, you know, Closer and FBI ended up being beasts. But my issue is that like when you even look at the team, right, and you call this a developing team, the two players that they have that are actually young and inexperienced are like skipping a step. So like that doesn't make sense in terms of development, right? Like if you're going to develop players, you take them from collegiate, you put them in academy, you train them in academy, then you put them in LCS. You don't just take collegiate players and then randomly throw them in LCS and then have them die 170 fucking times in a split like Niles. And then everyone just flames him the entire time. And like now his value and stock as a player is completely dropped. Like I think that's a disservice to your players. I think that makes Niles and Iconic look worse than they actually are. Because they're not actually getting the tools that they're needed. Then you look at the other players on the roster, right? And this is all from a management perspective. Like, obviously, if you're a newbie, if you're a Blaze Olive, if you're 6A, you have to take this. Look at the other players, right? And you would consider these players to be like young because you haven't seen a lot of them, besides for 6A, right? But 6A's been in LCS for 6 years now, right? So that's not a young developing player. A Blaze Olive has been in academy for like 6 years or like 5-6 years, something like that. Like he's not being developed either.
3.
What'd you say?
Well, no,
3.
So he was in like before Academy was a thing. He was also competing.
Right.
So
Sorry, you're right.
a Blaze Olive, like I think he started playing in 2016 competitively. Let me just check. Let me make sure that I'm getting all my facts right. So he started playing competitively for like Nova in like 2016. Yeah. So that's another like 5-6 years that this guy's been playing. And then you look at Newbie, who's been competing since I was a player in 2015. Like these are not like young developing players. These are players that have been like competing for, you know, the last like 5-6 years of their life. So like I don't even think it's like a good idea to develop these types of players. And like even money wise, I'm sure that you could get regional league players that are better and younger than somebody like Newbie that are willing to play for like league minimum. So I feel from a management perspective, this team has completely dropped the ball. And they've just been like hiding under that guise of, oh guys, we're just developing and it makes everything be okay. But like they should be exposed for what they're actually doing. Like they're a disservice to the league with the level of competition that they bring. They're like a free win for pretty much everyone. They're 3-15, which is like honestly a good record for that roster. And they're like devaluing their players. They're making their players look even worse. And then on top of that, like the players that they have aren't even young, and they haven't even proven that they're willing to actually like stick with and develop players. Like they've been always doing this thing where they get players, they're there for a year, then they get new players. Like they don't actually develop and stick with the players like that. Like developing isn't just getting random like young players, putting them there for a year, shitting the bed in LCS, and then getting new young players. Like you didn't develop anything. Like you're just still bad.
The other thing about Golden Guardians is I don't know who the fuck spearheads half the decisions that they make, right? I always said that it was a horror story watching the behind the scenes footage on Golden Guardians. You know how like Golden Guardians used to do, maybe they still do it, like the TSM Legends equivalency thingy. That was awful to watch. That was actually terrible. Watching the conversations that were like unfolding. Now you would assume that like the conversations that would actually make it out to the public would actually be ones that would paint you in a positive light. I thought that was horrifying. That there were so many clearly egregious things being said or being talked about as like a means of discussion or like a target point that should be hit or an ideology that they should have and all this other stuff. So I have no idea who the fuck is spearheading half of the stuff that's happening behind the scenes for Golden Guardians. And then you see the other stuff that they do. They imported Newbie. What is going, where is the saving grace here? Who is...
I mean, he's 24. He's not a young player.
It's not like they got some
He's
just not even good.
LLA player.
I don't understand. Like there's nothing super special to be seen here, right? It just seems like a really weird nepotism pull. I don't know if maybe he's friends with someone. And then, I mean, this is, I feel really bad. I'm about to say this, but like all the coaches that they brought in, right, from OCE, why? Like with what merit? What like why would this be a good idea? And I'm not saying it's like their fault, right? This is the same situation as like Ryoma or like Broxa or like other like people who get scolded for being like imports.
Broxa's
right?
a world finalist, but yeah, the rest of them I agree.
Okay. Oh. But the thing that I'm trying to say is like it's not their fault if they're presented with a job opportunity and they take it. Like that's not their fault. The reality is that I think it's way more on the management side and the people who spearhead these decisions, because ultimately there's incompetence when evaluating what is going on. And I'm not even saying that maybe these people, like, it's hard to know, right? Because it's all conjecture. But the reality of the situation is there's no identity within the team. All their teams always look like trash. There is no clear ability to discern anything that they're doing differently when evaluating the intent that they possess inside of games, right? There's nothing special. There's nothing standout. And I mean, it seems terrible because everyone always talks about like CLG, right? Like, oh, is Riot going to invoke the franchise rule, right? For a team looking like really, really, really bad. I would say in general, Golden Guardians is another prime candidate for that. And this obviously sounds very negative, but when you consider what's happening to some pro players, right, their careers are potentially over. Niles is probably done, right? I don't know if you watched Niles's his fucking player story thing, right, where he was like in a really hard spot. I think he moved in with his sister.
He's like playing in an attic on a laptop,
right, like playing in an attic on a laptop, etc. And he gets thrown into LCS, and now he's ruined. And it is insanity to me because it makes me think of people who like go to a shelter and adopt like a dog or a cat or something, and then they're like in over their head and they actually can't handle it, and they can't actually provide what the dog or cat or whatever actually needs, and they're like, actually, we're just gonna drop you. And it's like, okay, well, now that goes on the record of the dog and a cat that it was returned again. And like, you know, oh, there's problems, right? Most of the time that like dogs and cats are often fucking returned, it's actually the owner is fucking incompetent. It's not actually the dog or the cat or whatever. The person lacks the proper skill sets to actually train the animal or overcome some of the emotional problems that maybe the animal actually has. And when you're going to a fucking shelter to adopt them, you should probably already have that in mind. So this makes me, this is something I'm very fucking passionately fueled about, because I feel like players' careers and lives are being fucking ruined by people who are just job security. Holy shit, I'm sorry. Go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. And then also, yeah, I mean, I don't know about nepotism in terms of everything else, but I feel like the coaching staff thing, it just like, it feels to me like just when you look at what happened, I mean, their coach. I mean, their coach is somebody who I like. I think Anero actually is one of the better coaches, but I just feel like he's in a shit situation, right? And I feel like the coaching staff is just like people that he knew from OCE because when he was in OPL, he had a lot of like relationships there.
Tainted Minds.
That's how it feels to me. Yeah, like he was in Tainted Minds. And yeah, I mean, like, why do they only import OCE coaches? You know, it's like, oh shit, maybe it's because he went to OCE. They import a lot more OCE coaches, but I don't feel like OCE coaches would be like OCE always had the worst macro out of like any team, period. So I don't know about, or like any region, period. Sorry, I said team, but yeah, like I don't know why importing from there would be good in terms of like teaching your players the game. It's like, I mean, I don't know if OPL was even better than like our academy system. Like, it's weird to have like players that weren't able to make good decisions in game, then be teaching your players how to make good decisions in game. And when you look at like the individual coaching, right? Like Niles still looks like he's playing solo queue in LCS. Even in the final week, he's like TPing to lane, like he's Hashinshin TPing in LCS in the final week of LCS, like after like 17 games. So, yeah,
I went over the Hashinshin TP. Did you not go over it?
I saw it. I mean, so my takes were it's Niles and Iconic that like should be like focused on what they're doing in this situation.
Right.
Like I didn't go over it, but like my whole thing is like, yeah, that's still like what top lane and jungle are supposed to be coached on, right? Like the second death I think was even more egregious, where like if his wave is fucked and it's pushing out, you have to call your jungler. Like you just have to do it. But they're just not. It's like they're playing solo queue. It literally looks like they're playing solo queue. And they're not actually looking at lane states, and they just are trying both not to get behind and not be the one that like looks bad. Because I think that's what happens when you just get beaten down like this, right? You lose like every game in LCS, and at some point it's just like, God, I just don't want to look like the worst fucking player out here. I just want to look like decent myself. It's like hard to still like think positively and like think like a teammate in those situations.
Yeah. So something that you said, LS, with certain things, it's conjecture. So I can't get into that. But one thing that we can say is that when talks come up about pulling the franchising rule, CLG's names comes up and Golden Guardians' names comes up. And so I know that after I left, there was talk about that's going to be our championship roster. We're building our championship roster for 2019. And that was the Froggen roster. Froggen, Hanser, contracts, definitely Ole. I think Ole was the other expensive buy there. And so I can't believe I'm doing this, but to defend Golden Guardians, you know, they were hit just as hard as FlyQuest as a lot of these other orgs that had NBA backing money. And I will say that I wouldn't say that what's his name? Kirk Lacob. He's the Golden State Warriors. He's the owner. Was involved on the day-to-day or on the week-to-week, but whenever there was a financial decision to be made, it would go through him and it would funnel through him. But he was also managing the Santa Cruz Warriors, the G League team. He was managing the building of the new stadium, the Chase Bank Stadium. So there's a lot on his plate that when you look at other top teams, you just look at the chart that's on the screen right there. C9, TSM, TL, all come from endemic orgs. EG, endemic org. Dignitas now kind of has to bounce things with the 76ers money, I believe, and 100 Thieves has the Cleveland Cavaliers money, but they're not paying anybody. And plus, they come from real estate with the Quicken loans and all the loan stuff. So
yeah, but that to me, it's like not even an excuse, because you're telling me that you couldn't find any regional league player that's better than Newbie and also has like less experience. Like if you're going for a developmental roster, why are you getting somebody who's played 6 years competely?
No,
that doesn't make any sense. I
think that's a fantastic point and something that should be scrutinized. And I'm just surprised how much that stuck, that moniker for that team stuck this year. This is a developmental roster. They're developing, all that stuff. Like, we didn't get that pass. Like, in 2018, it was clear that we were a developmental roster. We had one person that could drink on the team, and that was High. Everyone else was, like, 20 or younger. And they did not use kitty gloves for us.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about your developmental roster there was that, like, the players had been in LCS for years. Right? Like Matt and Lurlo had been in LCS for years. So like the fact that those players are developing, like you don't get the same pass because they've been in LCS. Like they're expected to be like LCS level players. And obviously they weren't.
Right, but is that not the same thing with Stixay, with Newbie, with
Not really, because they came from
Ablaze?
they came from lower league. Like the thing is, they've been playing for a while, but like they're stepping up into the league. So I guess that's where like the differentiation comes from. Is that like these players, even though they've been playing for a while, they've been playing in a lower league, so they have to like get accustomed to the level of LCS.
Yeah.
Here's a question that I have, and I know that Max talked about it, I think, recently in an interview, right? Max from Cloud9. Who is going to help the Golden Guardians players get better at laning?
Swiper.
Okay,
he's the 2A coach from OC.
Right, but is he actually able to play? Okay, but Swiper couldn't help himself at laning.
Come on, that's not. I don't think that's a fair take.
No. What I mean is that there is a clear way to lane in a way that allows you to grapple with top level players.
Okay.
There's just a way to play lane. Okay. That's not identifiable in their gameplay, right? Why are basic lane things not identifiable, especially over a long period of time? That's where you measure intent.
I see.
So who's going to help them actually get better at lane? You would have to be able to grapple with them, right? But the reality is that the coaches are probably worse than the players.
Mm-hmm.
So then how are they going to grapple with the players if they themselves never had anyone to help them understand the fundamentals on how to learn how to learn? That's a skill set in itself, learning how to learn. Because it means that you can cross over multiple different patches or multiple different things, and the same fundamentals are always the same. It's why a lot of people that are elite level can leave the game for a very long time and come back because they know how to exercise the same skill sets. That's learning how to learn. That's a skill set that not many fucking people in this goddamn industry have across many different games.
So do you feel like then this falls, because I feel like Anero's been there for a while now, right? And he's had to work with what he's got multiple times and had multiple different rosters and found varying levels of success. Does this fall on Anero? Does this fall on Swiper not being good enough? Does this fall on the people that hired Swiper in this roster and all of that? Like, does this fall on Danon and the GM? Like, where does this need to change from?
We can't pinpoint what's happening. We can only pinpoint that a symptom is present, right? It's sort of like when you show a symptom, but you don't know what's causing it, right? You need to run diagnostics to figure out what exactly is the symptom. Ultimately, us on the outside, we're using conjecture to know that something is wrong because we can see the symptom, right? There's a lack of presence in intent when looking at their laning phases, when looking at so many other things that happens in the game, right? So over a prolonged period of time, intent, regardless of if they're winning or not, should be the thing that should be able to show itself. Right? Something that is happening, right? You can see this with other teams. You can see it within other teams and other leagues and stuff. They gravitate towards a certain approach of things, regardless of if it's good or not, right? A clear, obvious way of intent would be like, the teams that turn off their brain and just rotate to Herald, regardless of what's going on. That's obviously a trained thing, regardless of if it's right or not. But the problem is that inside of laning phase, there's no way to actually identify intent when it comes to practice and when it comes to other things. And there's a lot of other egregious things that go on, not just with Golden Guardians, but with other teams. We can see the symptom, but we can't actually know what's causing it. There's no way as the outsiders, right? The reason that I'm so fucking passionate about this is because I'm seeing dozens of players' careers fucking ruined across multiple regions because of something like this. And I don't know, I feel like I'm yelling at the sky. Last year, almost a year ago, I had a roundtable with Dom, Hotshot GG, Whippo, fucking a lot of other people and talked about these very same fucking problems. It's really, really, really hard to fix because ultimately it is very difficult to go in and know what exactly is happening. But when you see stuff like Niles and other players get thrown to the wolves and then have their careers potentially ruined, how can you not get emotional about it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I've heard other coaches come to me in privacy and be like, "Yeah, I'm so upset because like Niles was somebody who had a lot of promise, and like they're actually just like devaluing him, and then also like it's hard to climb your way out of a hole when you have this negative stigma, right? Like now every time people watch Niles, they're just sitting there, how hard is Niles going to int? How many times is he going to die, right? And then like that starts like probably fucking with him at a point where he's like, shit, like I've been dying quite a bit. Like I got to tone down the deaths. And then it's like, you're not even like playing towards improvement anymore. You're playing towards like not feeding into like the negative stigmas that you have as a player. It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. I would say I think most players hit that. I know it's not a 1-to-1 here, but the whole press R for Jensen against Bjergsen on Echo during the finals, they made like the LCS made that was the video that we made for the spring finals. It was the whole like, look at this one moment you didn't press R and he's trying to get over it, and this season's almost complete if he's able to press R. Like, all players will go through some sort of adversity like that, but I also
Jensen never played Echo again.
Yes,
So,
I think he has.
Okay, no, he has, but I mean, the point is, like, now he's just scared off the goddamn champion, and Niles is going to be scared from LCS, so.
And that's true. Like, I think that to me is something that the thing you brought up with such promise. Like, he was one of the most dominant North American players in collegiate. When Maryville was playing in academy, he was the standout player. This is why he got the shot. It's interesting because on Golden Guardians Academy behind him, they have Tally, who's a tenured Oceanic player who's gone to international events.
And he's the person that should be the starter. Like, he's the one that should be the starter, and Niles should be, like, behind the scenes, like, playing academy, learning from whatever, like, good habits Tally has, because Tally's been somebody who's played multiple roles. He's clearly exercised that, like, he has basic understanding of, like, at least laning and things like that. When he played at Worlds, he looked fine. So use that as a tool so that your player can level up. Like, sure, Niles probably has more upside, but it makes no sense that they're doing things the way they're doing. And yeah, I mean, I agree with LS that it's, like, very frustrating from the outside, because I mean, 3 wins, like, okay, so a lot of people will be like, oh, 3 wins out of 18 games isn't that bad. Think about it if it was best of 3s. Every single time that Golden Guardians won, it felt like if they had played a best of 3, they would have lost the best of 3. Like, I don't know one team that I could have said, like, damn, they look like they're just playing better on the day. Like, you remember the game versus 100 Thieves, how that looked? That was like a complete shit show. It was like 80 fucking Barons and like 79 fucking Elder Drakes, and they finally closed out the game.
Never saw a Tristana with that many items and Infernal Soul be that
struggle.
weak.
Yeah.
Right. That was something else.
I mean, at this point, it's like, I don't even know what you're developing, right? Because I feel like if you are trying to develop, like, if you want to go for, like, the super young, super raw roster that's just going to, like, lose every fucking game and not have a chance, then why are you even playing a Blaze Olive over Yunbi? Yunbi's a player who is super high rated in solo queue all the time. He's always getting, like, top 5. This guy always seems like he has the mechanics. He's ready for play. And a Blaze Olive is, like, the player that's been in academy. He's like the golden glue tier player where it's like, yeah, you're, like, looking pretty good in academy, but you don't look like you're ever going to be great. You're just going to be, like, good at max, like, stable at max. Like, if you want to go for the full fucking int roster, then full int it. Like, don't do this half and half thing. Like, play your young players. Play Prismal over Stixay.
This past offseason, I know because I talked to 3 or 4 different teams. So if we're talking about, like, struggling to find, like, native NA talent, there was a Korean challenger person who is Canadian or North American. He's one of the 2 countries, right? Totally fluent English, and multi-account high challenger on Korea, and was gonna join Africa, right? Mm-hmm. But he contacted me, wanted to play an LCS, or even Academy. Couldn't get him in anywhere, by the way.
Oh, I thought you were going to say his name is Daves.
No. Couldn't get him in anywhere. Like, but you see that people will say that, like, they're struggling to find residents and, like, all this other stuff. And like what Dom's saying, there's a lot of players that are very high, and it just feels like they don't get looked at all, right? Ever. It's really weird. It's very, very, very strange. And I don't know what's going on or what's causing that. Twitch chat's mentioning that apparently Peter Dunn said something about Niles before. I don't know, Dom, if maybe that happened at convo with you.
Yeah, he said it in the crackdown. I mean, He said that Niles was, like, the type of player that he had even scouted when he was in Europe. Like, he had scouted Niles and realized that he was a good player when he was in Europe. And, like, a year or 2 years ago, he was trying to get Niles to join a regional league in EU to develop. So, yeah, I mean, the thing that's crazy to me is that Peter Dunn has literally been here, like, he's been invested in NA for, like, 3 months, and he knows more about the players than the people in Golden Guardians that are probably making roster decisions that have been here for fucking years. That's what's concerning, is that, like, he's, like, the one that's, like, he knows all the young players and their backstories. He's like, what do you think about, like, JoJo, man? This kid is 17 years old. He came from Fortnite High Challenger, Diana main, but he also plays, like, a bunch of mechanical champions outside of it. Like, this guy can be really good. Like, he was messaging me about he cared when he was in Europe last year and he had no intention of leaving Mad Lions. He asked me about players like Tenacity. He asked me about players like Copy. He asked me about like all these people that are like our young solo queue talent. But I don't think that everyone has that mentality. Like, I don't even think that people care, honestly, when they're putting rosters like this together. Like, I don't think that there's a way that this roster came together and it was like, boom, that's it. Like, this roster has like the upside that we needed.
For those people confused, Jojo Pyun is the mid laner
for
Genius
Academy.
Yeah,
and he looks good in the games I've watched. Like, he looks like he's talented for sure.
He looked good. Yesterday, EGA put their eggs in him in game number 5 on a Silas, and he did not show up. Actually, he looked bad in games 3, 4, and 5. They got reverse swept by Golden Guardians.
Damn. I didn't watch yesterday.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, it was a good series to see, like, the best of 7th and 8th place Academy, or 8th and 9th place, I think, because CLG Academy is the only team that didn't make it to Proving Grounds yet. But I think that does lead to a good kind of transition into just like amateur just for a little bit longer, where like do you know what the rule set for Proving Grounds is and how the Academy season has been structured? Have you seen the Twitter conversation?
Yeah, I like saw where there's like different splits and the lowest teams compete against like the best teams. Yeah, I like know generally the format.
Yeah. Basically it's they had a regular season that was if you were in the top 6, you were good to go until Proving Grounds, which is in April, I believe, which meant the games in January meant the most for the top 6 teams. After that, you have like 3 months vacation of practicing on patches that aren't going to be the patch that is currently happening.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
And then all the other teams drop down to this open circuit, which that part is cool. It was finally, we're able to see amateur teams, university teams, scholarship teams play against academy teams, and Evil Genius's Prodigies made this fantastic run all the way through. An organization, Wildcard Gaming, also qualified for Proving Grounds. So you've got the 4 academy squads that already made it through the regular season. I think we added 3 more plus I think 3 amateur squads. So I think that's where the Solafida, Don't Pay Me squad is, Zeus Gaming.
Don't Pay Me.
All the other top amateur teams that has former LCS guys. And then Golden Guardians Academy and Evil Genius Academy booked their ticket as well. So it's a really cool thing for the teams that didn't qualify first, because then you're put in these high pressure situations. And Ellis, I think you've talked about this before in the Korean circuit, where it's like you're put in high pressure situations to perform. It's not just scrim-godding all the time. Hey, here's this Academy League. Okay, no one cares. It's like, hey, you're about to lose to an amateur squad and lose your spot. Like, that is like a legit reality that could happen. And then even if you qualify for Proving Grounds, you still could lose your spot, because it's a showcase of all the players there at Proving Grounds, and you might just get slotted out for 2 or 3 guys. Whether it's a mid laner or a jungler, there's a ton of 80 carry like prospects there in this tournament. So just kind of want to get your thoughts on like how it feels a little half-baked and some of the issues that they had, including the tournament's going to be played online, not on Tournament Realm, because not all the teams are in LA, so that's a pandemic issue. If there was no pandemic, it would make sense. It would all fly out to LA, play on LAN. But now they're all playing at 60 ping to make it equal, rather than playing on TR, and it's kind of unequal. Like, what are your thoughts on that, Tom?
I mean, I don't really know what to say, but I guess it's like, it's just because of the circumstances that they have to do that. I would say, like, I saw a lot of players complaining, and I do think that like the lack of games that a lot of teams play is kind of weird. Like the fact that like teams play for like, they have like 6 games or something, or they have like 6 weeks of games. So maybe they have 12 games and then they have like 2 to 3 months break. Like that seems kind of lame. If you're supposed to, yeah. I mean, like it just feels like you just don't play for way too long. There's too long of a break, where I feel like the whole point of Academy is like getting as many reps in as possible. It's not supposed to be like an LCS season. It's supposed to be, just play as much as you can.
Yeah.
Right, which was confusing to me, because that didn't feel like a quarantine thing, right? That
9 games and then a 4-week break. Yeah, that sounds bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, that was basically all they had here. So I just wanted to highlight it a little bit, because it's being thought about it was, and a plan was put in place that maybe would have worked if there wasn't quarantine, if people could have flown out to LA to play on the server, but it's not exactly what happened, and it looks a little clunky now. But we have Proving Grounds. Proving Grounds will happen at the end of this month. So it's March 29th over the next month. And so I just kind of wanted to bring highlight to it. A lot of people have asked before. We talk a lot about NA talent development, and so just giving it the appropriate nudge that it needs. And the amateur teams that have qualified are No Org, which has Viper and a 5-fire value big, Solafide, Dokla, Winston, Tuesday, Apollo, Zazel, and Zeus Gaming, which has Halaram, RBM, Dark Wings, Raheen, and Rhino. Do you know the Dark Wings, Raheen, Rhino? I don't know them.
Yeah, Dark Wings. Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm not familiar with them. And then the two teams that qualified here: Evil Geniuses, Prodigies, Surti, which is an Osh player, Tomio, Aspect, Shiro, Mist, and then
do you know Dan LS?
That's the 80K.
Dan?
Yeah, Dan. This guy is like the future. Dan, DAN.
No, I've never. No.
This guy is the future. I'm telling you. He's like
A name like
I
that.
think I think he's 17 years old now, maybe 16, 17. But this guy is actually a Smurf, man. He's somebody who I would definitely look out for to be like a good AD carry. I mean, he's somebody who's been top of the solo queue ladder for years and just never really thought about doing competitive, and he's looked good in a lot of the games himself. He just has like a great he has a great baseline of skill, I would say.
Just turned 17. He changed his name to Shiro. There's 7 Shiros out there, including former top laner Kumo, who used to be called League. And then Dan is right. Isn't there a jungler in EU, Unicorns of Love, and now is he XL?
Yeah. There's Dan and Dan, right?
And then there's Dan. Yeah, that's right. So there's so Shiro.
He should name himself Dan, and then just be like the fucking alpha over there. I respect that.
He was, in my opinion, the best prospect in this tournament. He played Samira. It was sick. Anyway, just want to bring some highlight to it. That'll happen next month. Okay. We talked about a lot about Golden Guardians not quite getting it right, and I think there's one more team that we need to hit on because they didn't have their own Candlelight Vigil last week because they were still alive, but then after this week's matches they were dead, and that is Immortals, the not so Immortals, not able to make the miraculous playoff push. They fall short here, and just want to take just a little bit of time here to hit on Immortals, what Coach Giotto was able to build this year, I think, surpassing what a lot of people thought, definitely what I thought here, with Revenge stepping up, Insanity working through some growing pains as a North American mid laner, and then Destiny and Raze trying to figure out the coming over, and then Xerxes. LS, what are your thoughts on Immortals in their first split here with this new roster?
I mean, I think the roster, I think it has upside, but I'm not sure how much upside. Like, for instance, they finished 7th, right?
Yeah.
The gap between 7th and top 3 or top 4 or something at certain points is actually really big. At least in NA, I think in general. Even though teams can take games off of each other at those ranks, I think that the ceiling is very different. Or even the floor, I guess, at certain points. So I don't know. It was definitely a weird split. I mean, I would say that for Immortals, though, since they came back into the league, it's been, I mean, I would liken it to just like Golden Guardians, though, in that it's obviously been very rocky, very big roller coaster, and obviously frightening. So I think that summer split is going to be extremely telling yet again.
Yeah, I mean, and I would say that right now, if I was to evaluate their skill after CLG kind of got their shit together, I would think that they're probably the 8th best team right now. They're probably still better than Golden Guardians and Fly. Fly looks pretty bad, but I think that this team looks like it's going to be bottom 3 next split again.
Yeah, and part of the rockiness also includes the ownership group letting go of their multiple things. And what I think hopeful me says they let go of Optic from Call of Duty. They let go of the Valorant squad. They are reinvesting into just being Immortals here in the LCS, and a hope that
You're
maybe
very
they
hopeful.
can do that. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hopeful, but LS said, yeah, there's a lot of rockiness happening, and I was like, oh yeah, there's rockiness outside of the gameplay as well. I just wanted to give that context. All right. Anything else? Do we feel like, because I did kind of wonder, Raze and Destiny like struggled a lot, and I felt like Raze's success came off of VENN and Draven play. But when I would watch, I'm like, man, it just feels like he never got fully comfortable in this split. Is that an accurate statement, or am I just kind of fluffing here and he's good?
I'm not confident when I watch Raze. Like, I feel like they try to get by like cheesing a lot of lanes. I think his Tristana is the only champion that he can actually like play decently. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about their bot lane. I feel like their bot lane ends up like getting a lot of like draft resource. Like they'll get late picks in the draft. They'll get like these perceived really good matchups where they'll get like Draven at good times, VENN at good times, but it never feels like they're actually able to perform. And I don't even think that was like that valuable of a strategy. This split, I feel like this split, you could have early picked your AD a lot of the time. If the enemy goes Kai'Sa, you go Xayah. You could have early picked Tristana in a lot of games. When Samira was OP, you could have blinded Samira. Samira Rel, like these types of lanes. So I don't even think that this is like that good of a draft strategy. I think that when you look at this team and how they're going to succeed, I feel like counter picks for Revenge, counter picks for Insanity would go a lot further in terms of like yielding results in the games. So
Right.
I'm not sure about like how I feel about their bot lane being so resource heavy when I don't actually think their bot lane is consistent at all.
I agree. I mean, I think that Reyes looked a lot better at Worlds than he looked in LCS. I don't know what could be going on. I do agree with Dom, though, that I think that bot lane counter picks, you don't really need to... you don't need to counter pick bottom in this particular meta. I do think that there are upsides to counter picking bottom, but I think that the champions that they were playing were never counter pick worthy bot laners, except for like maybe Draven. And then obviously the VENN spot that they found, right? Everything else I think is relatively standard. And with the way that teams draft in North America, it's so vulnerable that getting bot lane counters I don't think is really worth the upside. I agree that Insanity and Revenge getting access to counter picks could probably be a lot more beneficial overall.
With teams like this, I like thinking, are they just a piece away if you're like, on the cusp? Because they beat all the teams they were supposed to beat. But they never beat anyone they weren't supposed to beat, except Evil Geniuses, maybe?
Yeah.
But they were 2-0 against FlyQuest, 1-1 against
They beat TL at the beginning of the season.
That's right, they beat TL. So they took care of teams that they were supposed to beat. They did not. But do you feel like there's just one piece that needs to change? Is it a Xerxes thing? I feel like you're kind of invested in Insanity and Revenge. Do you look at the support or AD carry role for a swap here?
I don't think you actually do anything with their roster. I think you just run the same roster back and see where you go. Like, this is one where I feel like you are actually doing more development than you were. And I don't hate the idea of having like one stable player on a roster. I just don't think that the players that like Golden Guardians chose to develop like make a lot of sense. Like, I don't think the newbie's developing into somebody great where I could see like, people will flame Destiny, people will flame Raze, but I feel like Raze and Destiny to me have shown a lot more upside than newbie showed the split. So I think you just run it back with the same split and you see if like Revenge or Insanity can really develop into an elite player, because I think that actually has a chance of happening, where I just don't feel the same way when I look at other developmental rosters.
Yeah, man. What an explosive start for Revenge when he solo killed Alfari and just wasn't quite able to get the support from the rest of the team to be able to do that, and looking for great stuff from him in the future. All right. That is our Immortals bit. Let's head back on over to... Wait, where's my... There we go. Get rid of that. All right. Back to our midseason showdown preview here. We'll do this, and then we'll look at specific matchups there at the top, and then hit into a tier list. I promise we did it this time. It's actually made. Melina Smurfs and made it for us during this break. All right. So let's look at the top here. With the finish... Coming into the playoff, or coming into this final week of play, Dignitas was in second place. They were very, very close to being the TL on your screen there. And I know this bracket isn't fully completely correct. I know it's a double layered bracket, but you get the idea. So like Dignitas coming in was in second. They drop all the way down to fifth, and then TL leapfrogs 100 Thieves, and so TL will play TSM as TSM's number 2, 100 Thieves is number 4. When you look at this bracket, this final week of play, 100 Thieves against Cloud9, TL versus TSM. Who you got? Let's start with that top bracket, LS. Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. Cloud9's bot lane look a little shaky. Blabber inted one game on accident. But other than that, this is still the same Cloud9, right? We're not going to get a repeat of Summit?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that Cloud9 just takes the series. It's either 3-0 or 3-1. Obviously, I'm always a very big fan of just predicting.
I'm going 3-0 on that 100%.
Yeah, I'm always a very big fan of predicting 3-0. I think 100 Thieves are way worse positioned in best of series, just the way that they play. And I think they're really, really, really tilt prone in general. So,
Cloud9, so why don't you believe in Tommy versus Perks?
So yeah, Cloud9. I think it's the opposite of tilt prone, because in the best of series they get access to the other coaching staff and whatnot. They get to talk to more people. That I think probably helps balance out or like reevaluate. And I think that if Cloud9 end up like opening with aggressive comps, and if they start losing, then they just dial back into more mid-range scaling, like they'll tend to do, and then they probably just win regardless. So I imagine every game will be draft diff, and then it'll also just be gameplay diff. I think 100 Thieves are too outclassed.
I think 100 Thieves are like really figured out. I mean, I just don't even like their new style.
They're
really
one-dimensional.
With Ryoma. Like I feel like before they at least had like something going for them. Like they had they had this like, oh, we play like roaming mid lanes and we're like a bot focused team. Some days like going to be on these like isolated picks, and then we're just going to like camp the fuck out of bot lane with like our jungler and our top laner, or sorry, our mid laner being like a roam champion or something that can affect the map. Like I felt like that was like an identity where they could have like doubled down on and really like tested the limits. And that's what I've been calling for the entire time, is I wanted to see 100 Thieves start playing these do and be comps, right? Like I like those types of comps in NALCS. Like I think that would fuck with a lot of teams. Like if a team really like understood all the capabilities of like carry junglers with like mid laners that are flexible, like things like Nocturne mid, Scion mid, Rumble mid, these types of champions, I think Damonte would excel at. And then you throw that like the Nocturne Karthus comp. That was one that we saw in LEC that was just taken directly from LPL. And if you get those into mobile 80 carries, which we see a lot of people just blinding a mobile carries, right? Like how many times do we see teams go with like Syndra Caitlyn or something like that, where it's like, okay, this is a free Nocturne Karthus where like these guys can't play the game later on. And the other thing is Scion is picked a lot blind in the top lane. And Scion's one of the tanks you can just bypass. It doesn't peel as well as like other tanks. Like Gragas, you actually have to like worry about him like getting a good E ult off, but it's very hard for Scion to peel. It's an easy champion to bypass in general. So like I feel like these are the types of comps that I wish I saw like 100 Thieves double down on their strategy. I feel like now they're just like a weaker version of the other like top teams in NA, where they just play like control mages and things like that. I mean, I know Tommy played his like Silas game or whatever, but I just feel like they don't actually play the style that they're going for well enough to compete with the top teams.
Is there a world where they put Damonte back in? Do you think like this was,
I
hey
wish
Tommy,
you
got your couple
so.
weeks, and now we have an evaluation period, and then Papa Smithy pulls a big brain and swaps Damonte back in?
Tommy didn't do bad enough for them to do that. Like if Tommy like really showed that he didn't perform, then I would think so. But I mean, for me, I think that he performed well enough that they're like going to keep him.
He collected the gold stars. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, he had enough gold stars. It was like, Tommy, to keep your spot, you need like 31 gold stars. He's like, I got 33, coach. And then like Zix was like, all right, good job, Tommy. You're staying in for playoffs.
LS thoughts?
I mean, I agree with there. I think Dom really summed up everything. I already gave my tidbit on this, but yeah, I'm just not gonna go down this one.
All right, there you have it. So not worried about the bot lane kind of falling off a little bit. We've just so used to seeing them smash things, and they've slipped up over the last, I'd say like 2 weeks. They've had a couple of just 2v2 straight losses. Blabber had that one game. I'm not going to blow that one out of proportion. But other than that, Cloud9 still the dominant force, and we should be expecting them to go through 3-0 here. The other matchup in this series is TL versus TSM. So no Bjergsen in this playoff matchup the first time against Jensen in ever, I would say. And so Power of Evil has started looking a little bit better. I think he picked up a player of the game over this last week. I would say also another player that's looked good on the opposite side is Santorin is coming in, right spot, right time, being Santorin like he always is. Top 2 jungler in the league. Who you got in this one, Dom? TSM or Team Liquid?
So I think TL's a better team, right? Like I think TL should win, but the thing that makes me a little bit nervous about predicting it is that TSM did actually like win both games of split versus TL. So it feels like they match up decently into TL. Yeah. So that's like why it's a little bit confusing for me. And the other thing I'm thinking about is if TL wins, then TSM probably I'm not sure how the bracket works. Maybe TSM has to play Dignitas, maybe they actually play EG. But if they play Dignitas, Dignitas like somehow always beats TSM for some reason. Dig just mind controls TSM to like go to objectives and throw the game. So I don't really know like how these matchups will work out. I guess I would predict TL because they look like a better team, but TL don't look like unbeatable or anything. And also Tactical has been having a weird split. I feel like Tactical used to be like really, really reliable, and now he just dies randomly all the time. And I'm not really sure what's going on with him because I don't think that like a player like that like devolves or anything when they're this young.
Yeah, man. Two things. One, for mind control and mind control things, pretty funny you bring that up. Still Scaling, the newest cartoon, is over at VENN Esports on the YouTube channel. I made a mind control thing on how PoE signed with TSM. It's pretty funny. With Tactical, for me, it feels like it's a sophomore slump. You know, a lot of people say it. You know, people don't believe in that kind of superstition. But it just tanked really quickly. Like it feels like, hey, he hit the wall around the time when he came in and started subbing for Doublelift, which was like middle of spring split last year, and just started dying. And there was that clip that went viral of Doublelift freaking out over him dying while they were pushing top lane. LS, what are your thoughts and concerns of this matchup here?
I mean, I think this is the harder of the two to end up predicting. I mean, I think that TL is favored in it, and I think that a lot of that stems from just what TSM is going to show up on the day, because there's like the really clean TSM that just plays out laning phase evenly with like okay draft, and then, you know, the opponents just can't really do anything. And TL has shown that they're all too willing to just sort of handshake and gravitate into a mid game. So I think if TSM plays like that TSM, then maybe they can walk away with the series. But the thing is that TSM, I think out of all the top teams, have probably been the most inconsistent. Mm-hmm. And I say that even with like 100 Thieves' fall off, from the very start of the split into the mid and later stages of the split. TSM, they've been on like the Superman roller coaster at Six Flags. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what to really make of the situation. A lot of games that they also get away with, it feels like robberies. In a lot of cases, I know that I made that meme on Twitter that they keep getting away with murder. And I think that, I don't know. I think in the best of series against Team Liquid, I would probably heavily favor TL just in general. Yeah. And then I think, I mean, if they're down in the series, I wonder to what degree in a best of series, Bjergsen as like a player in the game played a component. And I wonder how the current roster can actually play under stress if they're ever at a point down in the series.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like Power of Evil's not known as like a clutch player. Like he's always been the guy that gets second every time, right? Like he's been in like 5 finals. He's always the person that like looks good, but they never push their team across. We're like, how many times did we see Bjergsen just start dragging corpses across in like game 4s and game 5s? So I definitely agree with that point. I definitely don't think that they have the same clutch factor, and like they don't have like the true champion players on this roster. Like which one of these players is actually known for being like a champion? I mean, Huni in like his early days was probably the only one you could say, right?
Yeah, they did. They had that one snippet before they played one of the games, I think last week, of the TSM Legends, where Huni and Speaker were playing chess, and it was Huni's like, I won everything. I won LEC. I tried to win here, took a lot of money, didn't win here, so I wanted to go win LCK. Won LCK, then came back and realized LCS the only thing I haven't won. And so I think there still is like a little bit more of like the, hey, he is the elder that has the experience, that has been there, and might be the guy that has to hard carry this team, but he's up against Alfari, who
that's the hardest matchup. Like I feel like his matchup is essentially like try to not let Alfari fuck you. That's his job. He's trying to just not get fucked in the top lane, while like the rest of the team like should be able to like I would say that Power of Evil's probably had a better split than Jensen. So like you could have an advantage in the mid lane if you get control mage versus control mage. Definitely possible there. I mean, I could definitely, see Spica having like a good series or something like that. But I mean, I think it's really hard to try to like win through top unless you're just playing like scaling matchups or something into Alfari, and you're able to just withstand and then like carry the game later on by being like a frontliner. Like if you get like a good Cho'Gath matchup or something like that.
I know this. I know this is gonna be a question where the context depends, LS. But if you're Team Liquid, what is the game plan you're drawing up against TSM, the TSM that you've known? Yeah, I'll just leave it open ended like that.
I just think drafts are super, super, super important. Anything around Alfari is obviously also going to be positive, right? Up in top lane, and I think Alfari probably has a way more diverse champion pool than Huni. And so that obviously can be pretty advantageous.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the two times that Huni's played Alfari so far this split, he's been down like 20 CS in lane. So, I mean, both times he had like outscaling matchups, which I feel like that's like, or not even necessarily outscaling matchups, because one of them was like Shen into Gragas. But I think that what like their angle is that they just try to get Huni on something that can like do something different than Alfari. Like if they play like similar champions, I think it's gonna be rough. I think if it's just like tank versus tank, but if it's like maybe split pusher versus tank, or like Huni gets Gnar and Alfari gets like tries to do the Kennen counter pick again or something like that.
All right. Well, with that, we've broken down our what do you have for this series matchup here, LS, in terms of score? Another 3-0?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very big fan of 3-0s, just in general, because 3-1 I think maybe between these two teams is a little bit more apt.
Yeah, I'll go 3-1 TL if anything. Personally.
3-1 for me is it's a I forget the there's like a math on this, right? About how 3-0 is actually closer than 3-1, depending on what you consider or like favor a certain team to be positioned in the matchup, right? But yeah, I mean, I can understand 3-1 in this particular matchup. I guess though that like if one of those wins is gonna come in, it has to be in game 2 for a 3-1, right? It has to come in game 2, so it has to be an immediate bounce back. I don't think either team bounces back from being down 0-2. Because I think both will probably mentally break in the best of series, and yeah.
Yes, smartage. All right. Well, you have your predictions from your experts here. While we have it up, or I guess while I still have it up, and before we move to, I think, the chunk of the rest of the show, EG and Dignitas here. They're probably going to play 100 Thieves. So I think the 100 Thieves one goes to EG, I believe. And then, it goes to Dignitas because Dignitas is 5th. And then the loser of TL versus TSM against Evil Geniuses. Any way that they continue to proceed on here, given the fact that they both kind of stumbled into playoffs. I guess EG beat TSM, which is helpful because they're going to play TSM or TL. But Dignitas... Again, they weren't able to quite close the deal out the way that they should have.
I would be way more scared of EG than Dig. I feel like Dig was like a best of one team, and you think about like how Dig wins all their games. They won so many of their games by the enemy team throwing or the enemy team like making bad plays and them reacting. Dig has almost no like macro that they do that's consistent when they're ahead to like close out games. And I mean, you've seen it multiple times, right? Like you've seen games where they have big leads and they just threw like the one versus CLG because they don't actually know how to like play when they're winning. And I think that like in best of series, they're actually going to struggle quite a bit. I mean, they're kind of getting more figured out too. Like for a while, I mean, how long did it take for people to realize you just banned Kalista against Neo because he's like, you know, one of their biggest points of power. When you look about when you think about like actual laning, Sligo's normally stable. Fake God has his picks where he can perform if he's in like matchups that he's comfortable on. But Neo is like the one that actually I feel like is like the person that can carry late game team fights. Like this guy is like actually really, really talented. And he's somebody that I think has been having like one of the better splits as AD. Like I don't think there's a world where you can say Tactical's played better this split than Neo, right? So I think that if you just limit what he's able to do in the game, you don't really have to worry about all of Dardoch's counter picks. Like it's pretty much been shown that when like really power champions are left up and Dardoch has to pick like an Udyr or something, he's just not like on the same level as some of the other junglers in the league. So I think that the way that you feel going into a matchup versus Dignitas in a best of like 3, best of 5, whatever, is a lot more calm than when you're playing against EG, because EG actually has like when EG looks good, they look legitimately good, right? Like when Jizuke gets his picks, he gets his rise, or he gets good echo matchups, and he's able to play side lane without just like running it down. He looks like stable. Where I just don't think that I get the same feeling from watching Dignitas.
LS Dignitas.
I mean, I think Dig in general. I mean, Dom covered all the points, right? They really require opponents to really blunder and tilt into them, right? Dardoch obviously has a really deep champion pool. And I feel like in general, though, a lot of the games Dardoch was actually carrying, especially early and mid on into the split. He was really, really, really on point. Anytime Dignitas gets an advantage, they seem lost with it. Anytime Dignitas find themselves in like a forked position, they're clearly really, really lost. Like one of the plays that comes to mind was the dragon for the mid inhibitor turret thingy, where they're clearly forked. They're clearly not very capable on even footing or head footing if the opponents don't blunder. So, like always, drafts can obviously be very helpful for this, right? And like Dom already covered on Neo. Neo, I mean, he's played an abundance of different champions. I think that some of the games were robberies that Dig obviously got away with. They're obviously the most surprising team of the entire split, I think, overall, because everyone, I think, touted them to be like bottom 2, right? Before the split even started.
Third to last. I had him 8th.
Yeah, third to last, yeah. So, I mean, it's rough. I don't think that they, in a weird turn of events, I don't think they can beat Team Liquid, but I think that they can beat TSM because TSM's volatility. So in a really weird turn of events, I think that they're very reliant on TL beating TSM for them to have a chance continuing on in the tournament.
All right. Well, Dignitas will get their shot against. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Again, I'll double check. Let me double check real quick to see if that is how it works. But it should be 1-4 drops down to the next highest seed. I don't think it's dynamic seeding where it's like, oh, well, who's the lowest seed that drops down? Actually, it doesn't say. Does it say 4th, 5th? Nope, it doesn't say. So I guess we'll see how the LCS shakes it up. And again, those matches will be 1 series per day. So only 2 broadcast days this week, everyone. So Friday is free. You can go outside, see the sun, do other things safely. As Saturday and Sunday. Saturday will be the TSM versus TL, and then Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves on Sunday. Evil Geniuses, they've been living and dying by Jizuke. My boy definitely is just on for the ride. Whatever happens, looks good when they win. They looks like he didn't do anything when they lose. And then had the Jinx game where he actually didn't play well. There, I needed to get all of that out because just get that up front. So that when
Degon's coping so hard, it's so crazy. He's coping so hard.
I you know what? I do love the fact that like Tom, we've done this long enough that like you fucking know, like you know what I'm just like. Oh please,
so hard, it's so crazy. Okay.
Oh, definitely. So he's great. He's the reason why you 2 wins.
Definitely, he's good, guys. He made playoffs again in his first split back.
My God, he's the third team all pro. Like definitely vote him. I think he could make third team all pro, and I think that's something he should be proud of. But Impact has been the rock of this team. When he does well, it gives him a chance. When he tanks, there's no hope. Svenskeren, Jizuke, and Ignar round out that squad. If they play, let's go through one at a time. If they play TSM, how do they do? If they play TL, how do they do?
I wait. You said which team? TSM.
Yeah. If EG play TSM, how do they do? And then afterwards we'll do.
Okay, so
and
if
then I'll
EG
throw
play
TL to you, LS, because I don't want Dom to answer all the points first.
So I think if EG play TSM, they'll probably just lose a long series. Like I think they'll win a game or two, but I feel like most people just understand if you ban out like Rise in second phase, or like if you just like pick a stable matchup, like if you pick a champion like Orianna into EG and you ban out Rise, what do? Right? Like then Echo isn't the best, and then you kind of force like Jizuke on an Azir or Syndra or something like that, and it's really like a lot less threatening. So I think that's like an issue. And then if EG end up playing TL, I think they just get completely smashed. Like even though they won that game when TL lost their mind, I just feel like they're like outclassed in most positions there.
That's fair.
And yeah, I just don't really know where they're gonna get their advantage, right? Like the only advantage they have is that Impact is like generally better at like TPing than Alfari. He like understands more when he can help his team. Like when he's playing things like Gnar, he's probably the best Gnar I've seen in LCS at managing his rage, his Gnar bar before the fight. Like he always makes sure that he's on a good value. Like he's very practiced on those types of things. So maybe they can't get an advantage team fighting versus TL, but I think that overall they'll just end up losing.
I was going to say, if you're talking advantages against TL, there's only one player majorly slumping on TL. And that means the third best AD carry might be...
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a good point. The tactical while having a major slump is still infinitely better than Deathly. That's crazy. Yeah, I agree.
You go. Go ahead, dude.
Man.
Dom, why?
I mean... EG, I think it doesn't matter if you're EG or Dig or anyone, right? Your best matchup coming out of the TL TSM bracket is always going to be TSM. That's just how it's going to be because they're so wildly inconsistent, and I don't think that a best of series magically changes that at all. I just think they're so wildly inconsistent. Now, obviously, if they turn up and they're performing like they can, like in those isolated string of games that they had, then I think they're probably harder to face than TL. But I just don't think that that's likely to end up happening. So Evil Geniuses, if they go up against them, I mean, when you watch Evil Geniuses games, I feel like it's out of the teams that are in playoffs, I feel like EGs are the most forgettable. And I think that speaks a lot to just their gameplay. It feels like when they win, it's not anything like really flashy. It's not anything special. There's not like major things of pinpoint that really go on. One of the things that was actually so surprising to me, and I wanted to comment on it, is I mean, I'm sure that you saw the the Reddit thread, right, where I said Jizuke is really, really, really bad at laning, right? If you just watch him play, but apparently his like lane statistics have him at like the second best in the league for laning. And I wanted to
CSD and
yeah things
XP.
that don't right, they don't paint a full story, right, in general. So I mean I went back and I watched through some of the games, but this aside, I just want to narrate on something else. Like when you have something like this, mid lane and NA fucking sucks. Okay, that's number one, right?
Okay.
Being good at laning, okay, and being one of the best NA mid laners is not mutually exclusive. That is not a thing that I think is...
Can you say that one more time for people louder in the back that maybe had trouble understanding
that? NA laning is really... Like, I don't know. When I saw that stat, I'm like, wow, okay, cool. I'm not a person that really cares about stats in general, right? Because there's so many different ways to, like, misconstrue them. There's so many different ways to, make them appear as something that they're not or whatnot. Like, for instance, if someone plays Fasting Center, right? And you show someone's CS stat, obviously they're going to have a lower number, right? If someone's always playing tank matchups against like Gnar or something like that, yes, they're always going to have a lower CS number.
Like if somebody's playing Olaf every single game and they have low kills and assists at 15, you probably shouldn't base your argument off that when you're calling close to the 8th best jungler in the league. No, completely agree. Continue.
So stuff like this is not So when I saw the stats, I mean, I was really surprised. What I think, you know, I mean, whenever you watch him lane, it always feels like he's taking bad bases. And it always feels like he's out of mana. It always feels like his mana management is like really bad. I remember one of the things that stands out in my mind was that against Immortals, where like he was getting bodied in lane, but then there was that massive blunder, and he got like a double kill, right?
Lucian flash in. Holy
Yeah.
Yeah, he just gets
thing,
2 kills in the game.
Right.
Holy.
It feels like also like a lot of his early advantages come early on inside of the game that he ends up getting, and this contributes to like some of the stats and whatnot and yada yada yada. But it's really weird. Like I don't think if anyone thinks of like the best mid laners in NA that Jizuke actually comes to mind at all. In fact, and I understand that this is like fallacious in nature, but like I feel like every pro that comments on mid laners always puts him on the bottom end, right? Like if you're watching the games, it just feels like he's out of place.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's somebody that probably a lot of people don't like playing into though, because he's the type of player where he literally like he plays super disrespectfully around jungle, which I think is like his biggest like weakness is like this guy is just prone to ganks all the time. I mean, he's trading like his jungler is there all the time. Like even when he knows where the enemy could be, he's still just like trying to just win every single trade as hard as possible. So I feel like he'd be more annoying to play against, but I don't think that Jizuke is like good in the same way that when you watch like a really good like when you watch a really good laner, they're able to like balance like winning lane, winning CS and trading with being like safe at all points. You know,
Chovy.
like when you Chovy. Rookie is another one. Rookie is great at this. If you watch IG, like Rookie is one of the best in the world at this. They're really smart about like the way that they manage their lane and like and you know like they're getting advantages, but they're doing it in ways where they're never really vulnerable. Where I feel like Jizuke is just vulnerable the whole game. I mean, you saw him die at like 30 seconds in one of these games.
Yes.
He's literally vulnerable the second that the game starts. It's like shit, like gank him, gank Jizuke, bring 5 people, like fuck it. Like, he's watching the point too aggressively.
That was the fastest kill in LCS history. Thanks, Jizuke.
Yeah, no. I mean,
No,
that's
yeah.
actually pretty hard to beat. Like, I was thinking about like how to beat. You'd have to like play like Rammus or Nunu or one of those things and like run it down mid. You'd have to like TP to your turret at 15 seconds, something like that. Like,
Right.
Really hard to beat that. Yeah, well played. That's a record.
I do wonder if it is a world record. Twitch chat saying it is the world record, but I mean, I don't know a way in pro play that you die faster. Like, right? They just ran at him and he died. But yeah, so EG will have to balance Jizuke's aggression, and they don't have the loss to give. Again, bracket doesn't show the double limit.
Can we just go over the mid laners really quick in LCS? You have Saligo, you have Pobelter, Saligo, Pobelter, you have Perks,
Palafox.
You have Palafox, Ryoma, a Blaze Olive, Insanity, Jensen, and Power People.
That's crazy.
Not hard to stand out in this league. This is the easiest period, I think maybe, in history to ever enter into the LCS as like a mid laner.
Dom?
Yep.
This is by far and away the easiest.
Yeah.
But the same can be actually said for a lot of positions. This is the easiest period to enter LCS since I think maybe like 2015. Or like 2015 or like 2014. Because after that it got hard, right? Lots of imports swarmed into the league. And all of the really good residents like filtered out into various teams. But now there's so much vulnerability across so many different positions in the league that if you're actually really good, it should be pretty easy to get into LCS.
I was gonna say, Dom, like, was there a period earlier in like 2, 3, 4 where maybe mid lane was kind of weak? What, like Echo for Team Marn maybe is like
like season 3 was super bad. Season 3 was super bad. But I mean, obviously, like in the modern era, like compared to like what the average level of play is, I think this is the easiest it's ever been. I mean, so many teams are going for these like rookie native mid laners, which is like weird because I mean, I don't know. I feel like historically the players that have been the best for NA players have been like junglers, you know, and like we don't have that many good mid laners, but it feels like everyone wants the native mid laners these days.
Thought we had junglers and AD carries for a while. We had a spree of them that were people would talk about when we went to international events. Yeah, I like that point, LS. Like this should be something where either and I think it goes back to the whole conversation we had at the very beginning, almost an hour ago, of like, hey, Org's got to give the youngins a shot. You know, Jojo Pune sitting on the bench, Yunbi's sitting on the bench. Let's get these guys in here and see what they got.
And also, it's tough though. It's tough to do this because we already did it with Niles. But also, if you are swapping players around or giving players a trial or stage games, you're not discarding other players that are being swapped out, right? How many times have we seen Pobelter get benched on a different fucking team and then come back and be the best option for that team? Like, how many times? It feels like that's Pobe's career arc, and it just happens in two. It's benched, back with a vengeance, and then benched, and then back with a vengeance, and it happens over and over again. And orgs just keep upping his value because every time he gets benched, you just go to the negotiating table and be like, all right, so you want to play me? That's gonna cost like double. Not that that's what happens, but very easily could do that. But hopefully more orgs will give opportunities to the youngins to get in there.
One thing I was thinking about when we were talking about Jizuke is like how anxiety producing jungling for Jizuke must be. You must feel like you have to be there at all points or else like shit's gonna go fucking down. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that would be like the worst job ever. Like, that makes me respect Svenskeren more, that he has to like play with Jizuke as a mid laner. Like, you have to have a fucking iron mental to be able to do that. Jesus.
Has Svenskeren had to do that like in his career? Like, he had, who did he have?
He had Jensen, Bjergsen, Niski. Yeah.
So not really.
Yeah, I mean, he's never had a psycho mid. Like, having a psycho mid is crazy, man. Like, I played with a psycho mid. I played with Phoenix, you know, like he was the same type of guy. Like, I will not ward and push my way permanently. I mean, I think eventually not warding for 5 seasons gets to you. Like, you probably have to ward at some point.
Isn't he NA resident?
Yeah, he is.
Yep.
Yeah, he is.
I think
there's no way.
The last we had heard was that he was on Dignitas Academy, and I think when they did a whole academy swap last year, also I think he was playing AD carry, right, Dom? Last year at the beginning of last year,
then he started playing mid. Then he started playing mid, and then he played LCS,
and then finished back at mid, and then played in the LCS with the whole Dignitas swaparino.
Oh, this is so weird. Like his Twitter as well as a ghost town since September. What is it about September that caused the ghost town on so many like former pro player Twitters?
Teams.
Is that just the month where like you get told that you're not playing again?
Yeah,
but it's really weird because he doesn't have he doesn't have an off season post. Do you know what I mean?
LS, who was the other person in September that things didn't
Ejim. Yeah.
Where have they gone,
caster.
LS? We'll have.
Well, no, I genuinely am
files.
curious. Like, what happens to these players and people? You know, I really do wonder.
I mean, so if I do want to hit this because I've thought about this a lot, and this is kind of the responsibility that I'm starting to feel as a person in the space.
Oh, what happened to Prolly?
Amateur. Prolly, yeah. You're going down the hole. If we're going to ask, like, hey, we want players to.
I don't care.
Piglet just hit. No, Piglet.
I'm trying to be serious, though.
Oh, my bad.
Hold on. Piglet just hit Challenger in Korea again with like multi ID. I think this past like off season thingy. He was LFT. I'm pretty sure.
Shit.
All right. Breon Piglet. Is that how you say it? Breon?
Reddit.
Fredit Breon, yeah.
Fredit Breon. Yeah. When you ask for more, I guess, volatility in the lane in terms of, when you ask for more players to get opportunities, then we do create a system where, like, hey, some players aren't going to be out without jobs, and if this is the only thing that they've done, then they're not going to know what to do. This happens all the time in sports. We have a lot of a European audience, so it happens a lot of the time in football. You get this kid from the U18,
you mean soccer
team, soccer
joke,
right?
And I know you just made everyone upset. And
I just like triggering the chat.
They pop up, they make a fantastic play for the main team in front of millions of people watching around the world, and then that's it. That's the end of their career. For all of you Manchester United fans, Federico Makeda, that's a throwback there. But this happens all the time, and it that's the end of the story in terms of their professional play. They got to figure out what they're doing afterwards. They're doing, maybe they go back to school, maybe they get a regular job. Some people are able to leverage their skill set and become a pundit, coach, go on the broadcast. You kind of see what Alorum's doing right now, where like Alorum is on the broadcast, but he's still qualified for Proving Grounds. He's been able to balance both. So
he did what a lot of players did this season, where like if you think you can potentially replace somebody in LCS, you don't sign an academy contract. You play an amateur instead, so you can still show your stuff in Proving Grounds, but you don't actually have like the long contracts that keep you
contract
under.
hell. Yeah.
Yeah. Academy is actually a prison. The way that it's currently set up, it's very, very, very hard to escape.
Unless they told you, hey, we're going to give you a shot. A la
No, never.
Wisdom.
Yeah, but
My word of advice would be to never trust people that say that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there you go. Then that makes me sad. Because that is something that I am passionate about, and it does feel bad that we have these fantastic storylines and personalities through their play, but when it's over, where do they go? What do they do? Very much the same thing in professional sports. A lot of people have to figure it out, and a lot of people have a tough time figuring it out. Some people don't give it up, and they go to Korea, get Challenger, and they're going to get picked up. Piglet. All right. You brought up a very good concept idea, Dom. It's who's this player, right? We have this whole like, hey, what happened to blank? Instead, I can, and both you and LS will guess, but I don't know how good LS is like old, like LCS history is. I could like pull up a stat or pull up like a story or something about a player in the past.
Anything season 3 or earlier, I don't know.
Right,
I know like brief. I know brief.
Okay, who's the jungler that had the most first bloods in LCS? Killer assist for first blood in LCS season 4 summer.
Is that you?
Was that
Yep.
Smithy?
Okay, all right.
I have one. I do have one that I do want to hit real quick because this is fun for me. All right, season 3. Yes, this is. Oh yes. Okay. Cool. This player had. All right. No, that's too easy. I'm trying to figure out what the hint is. Okay. This player has had a top laner. Let me go all the way back to his career. Season 3. Oh my god. This player's most played champion was Elise. Played 8 times in both the LCS and promotion tournament. I won't tell you which one it is, but 8 times.
Top laner?
Top lane Elise, yes.
Season 3 summer?
Season 3 summer, yes. All right, well, I told you.
Nien, right?
Yeah, I was going to say Nien. I was either Nien or Kiwi Kid.
Those are good. Those are incorrect.
Really?
I have not seen the right answer in chat either yet. They're saying boy, balls, the kid.
Is it Chris?
It's motherfucking the gatekeeper himself.
Holy
Chris Rosales. Chris, yes, that's right.
What happened to Chris?
He plays like TFT now.
Dude, he messaged me, I want to say last year to boot camp in Korea. I think, oh no, it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I got messaged by someone by proxy, or like someone messaging me on his behalf, asking for help boot camping in Korea. But then I never heard anything after that.
Okay, bathroom break's over. Okay. All right. Last thing to do in this episode of Facecheck, take a look at the jungle tier list. I know we promised it to you 2 weeks ago, and then we promised to you last week, and then LS moved, and so we even pushed this episode, not because of the move, but because the jungle tier list was so contentious, and it took a while to get it from Listinky. So let's get into it. Our jungle tier list for, I tried to get through it without laughing, spring 2021. Here we go. Bam, there's Graves. All right, so Blabber at the top, consensus number 1, and again, props to Molina for knowing exactly how LS likes to do his tier list. He does it in tiers and doesn't have rankings. He's like, they generally could be moved back and forth depending on the tier. So all of us, Blabber there, Iconic, Broxa. I have Xerxes lower. Both of you guys have Xerxes at 8. The closer is the one that is a little bit lower. You have him in the second tier of guys there, LS. instead of over at third. So LS, let's go with you first. So you have your the way that you break things down.
Interestingly enough, I mean, I feel like jungle in NA is also, it's sort of akin to mid, where like there's clearly like the good ones, and then but interestingly, I don't think this is as bad as mid, where there's not like a major drop off, right? Like in mid lane. I feel like it's more like middle of the packy. And then there's the bottom two that obviously exist. Spica and Dardoch, I feel like it's really interchangeable, right? It depends on like how TSM is playing. Because sometimes Spica just does really, really random things for no reason. And I feel like Dardoch's been having probably one of his best splits ever, right? Where he's been a primary carry for Dig, and his versatility inside of the jungle is obviously nice. The two arrows are there because I think that they're interchangeable. Closer, the only reason I separated him, and I know you guys both have him up more, is there's so much variance in the gameplay, and I'm someone that really doesn't like variance in general. But also, I think he probably gets dragged through my rating a little bit harsher just because of the nature of his team. But I do think he's probably at the top end of like the others in this same bracket. So like I could have had a line including him in the higher end, but there's may sound weird to some people, but there's very little discernibility between some of the remaining junglers because there's just so much of a cluster of mess that's going on within the teams. That it feels like there's so much polarity between how they're going to play and go about different things that discernibility is really, really hard. But then Iconic and Broxah, they take the cake, I think, at the very bottom. So,
Why was there a specific reason why you had Iconic over Broxah?
I probably could have had an arrow for either one of these. I just feel like Iconic is sometimes doing things without really having too much to do, you know what I mean? I don't know, but Broxah, it feels like the same old. Feels very, very weird watching him. I think he had like that one good game, which was actually his like debut game back. Yeah, the Lilia game. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was his one good game, but outside of that, it just seems like the same old patterns, the same old inefficiency, the same old just pretty much everything. Also, the 33-minute mythic item on Lilia, that one was...
the Night Harvester late.
That was...
I've been trying Night Harvester on Lilia. I don't fuck with Night Harvester on Lilia. Like, I don't know. But I think I'm just
I don't understand it at all. Like, I saw the freak tweet on it, right?
Yeah, the
so
math on 90, it is good.
Right. You get 90 ability power, 15 ability haste, 300 health, right? Mm-hmm. And then Soul Rend, it deals 125 plus 15% ability power, but Liandry's Anguish, right, is AoE. Yeah. Now, obviously, Night Harvester is AoE, but this is a 40-second per champion cooldown. Liandry's is not. So I just don't even understand. So you get 4% of the target's maximum health, right, over 4 seconds. You get a flat 60, so half of Night Harvester, plus 6% ability power. So obviously, like, the AP is mattering, but generally junglers are not getting obscene values of ability power. Right, and then you have the magic penetration, etc. You have 10 less ability power. The ability haste covers for itself, and then you get the mana, which some people will say is negligible. But the fact that this can be AOE applied and keep being reapplied over the course of the fight, it's always going to deal more damage, right? You have to really justify that 25% bonus movement speed for 1.5 seconds. Mm-hmm. To me, that sounds like more of a mispositioning error than anything.
Yeah, like I think Lilia is like really hard to space on properly. I think that's the main reason why Lilia has such a low win rate in solo queue and like competitive globally. Is because it's so hard to space on the champion. It actually has so much like just being able to like understand how a fight's going to play out and like how to position aggressively enough that you're useful, but then also like not instantly die is actually really difficult on the champion. So I feel like Night Harvester might have like a better win rate, but that probably just helps with like your spacing a little bit more. Where I feel like if you really master the champion, you can probably position the same way with the Liandry's.
Right. So it's stuff like that, right? It's a practicality argument, I think, and also win rate with a really low sample size is another like really, really, really weird statistic. But then you need to find deviation between leagues and whatnot. And then also apply context, right? You can't just look at a win rate in isolation, right? Because, all right, for instance, let's say Damwon Gaming played 18 games and went Night Harvester in every game. Night Harvester's not what's winning. Damwon is what's winning. So why does Night Harvester just get plus 18 to its win rate percentage? You know what I mean? Like wins. That's not fair. What is happening in the game if the jungler is 1-0-2 with 20% kill participation, but he wins, but he built Night Harvester? Like, obviously, Leandre's, likewise, is no benefit there, right? So all that I'm saying is I don't care about win rates in a vacuum. It's ridiculous. That's really, really, really weird. This even goes for champions, too. Do you know that, like, Seraphine, Udyr, Lilia, they all have negative win rates, I think? In competitive. Senna has an abysmal win rate. I think right now at the time of recording this, I think it's 42% or it's like 40, right? These are very broken champions. These are very, very, very strong champions. But obviously context matters. You have to go into the nitty gritty of things. I think one of the only champions across all regions that has almost no deviation is actually control mages like Orianna. I think Orianna has like really similar win rate, regardless of top team, bottom team, regardless of region, regardless of all this other stuff. Orianna is like pretty static. But there's regions that just have massive deviation amongst champions, itemization, and like all this other stuff, but also such low sample sizes that like a few wins, a few losses greatly swing the percentage. It's why stats, I think, are used really grossly right now in the entire scene. It's just really weird. But this is a much longer topic to go into. It's basically its own show in itself, so I'm not gonna waste any more time on it.
Yeah, I mean, as Cap says, stats don't lie, but liars use statistics. So,
did he say that?
Yeah, he said that.
Did he really say that? That feels like that's a real quote from someone else, right? Oh, that's pretty cool, Caps, to pop off like that. I didn't expect that. Dom, let's go through your tier list here. Yeah, let's go through your tier list.
So here's the thing. Like, I think that Broxah has probably played better than Iconic, but I think it's so much easier for Broxah to play the game than Iconic, where it's like that's what's really hard to measure. Like junglers is Iconic plays with losing lanes almost every game.
Yeah.
So the amount of time, like that's why I hated when people were talking about his forward percentage. They're like, yeah, he has like the lowest like forward percentage in the league. It's like, yes, because when you're losing as a jungler, you don't get to walk past river. Like you're just in your fucking jungle the entire time. So, I mean, I think that like Closer, one thing that I wanted to talk about why I have Closer so high is I feel like he takes the L in draft more than any other jungler. Like this team is allergic to like counter picking a jungler ever. Like when you have a player that's as mechanically talented as Closer that can play everything, they could surely have found like Kane spots and things like that, but they will almost always like first pick like Udyr, Olaf, like these types of champions and just force him to play it blind into the enemy team, where he like it results in a lot of games that are super hard for him compared to like other junglers that have more flexibility a lot of the time. So that's like part of the reason why I still value Closer highly. I still think he's good regardless of the fact that he gets fucked by draft constantly. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like all the other names, like the reason I have Dardoch at 5th is just because I feel like he's somebody who's on the opposite side where he gets a lot of draft resource, and there has been times where he's used it well. There's also been times where he used it poorly, and he actually does like throw quite a bit in games. Like he does do like crazy things and like lose a shutdown. He's not as like crisp of a carry jungler as somebody like Blabber, who Blabber like throws sometimes, but I mean, just generally speaking, his like conversion rate of his leads into wins and like just being able to be a force throughout the whole game, I think is really good. But yeah, I mean, there's like a bunch of games that jump out to me, like the Dardoch Rengar counter pick or whatever, where you save last pick in draft. There was like the Mundo game he played as well that wasn't the best. There was the Emax Skarner game that actually just gave me an illness. I mean, it was really crazy. It was really crazy. Some of the things that Dardoch's done. So I'd say that like he's looked good in some of the wins, but generally speaking, it doesn't feel like he's the one that like carries the entire game.
Right.
He normally gets like a lead, and then they did kind of like start floundering around a little bit, and then they'll just like randomly win a team fight late game by like Neo popping off, or the couple games where Fake God popped off. It doesn't feel like he carries the game.
Or even that game against FlyQuest this past week where they like were
oh
about
my
to lose,
God,
and
man.
then they just ran it down mid and ended the game.
These types of games, like how many of these games have they had where like I don't know what they
like
do.
5.
Like, and this
like
is something where I would have showed this a million times, but it's like how the fuck does FlyQuest not know that when you have 2 inhibs down, that you just wait for the super minions to crash before you like go for any type of engagement? Like the only way you could lose the game is if you like let the team fight on even footing. So when you just let your like you have top and bot inhibs down, you let the minions push in, somebody has to answer those waves, you just look at them and the minions win the game. The fact that we're in season 11 and these players can't like figure out how to win games from that advantage of position is so frustrating. It's like, man, please just wait for your fucking side waves to crash. Like somebody's gonna have to go defend them, and then you can walk up and take the mid inhib, or then you could look to engage on the 3 people that are alone mid. Like it's actually an unlosable game state, but people don't know about it. So yeah, I don't know. It's really rough. That would have been a clip if we had Joe here today.
Yeah, it's funny. It got me thinking about that specific team makeup to make that call. Is it Wisdom who just got put in the roster? Jose Dioto.
Wisdom? Who the fuck is Wisdom?
Right, Wisdom? Isn't that the guy that
Dreams?
Dreams? Why did I say Wisdom?
Who the fuck is Wisdom, man?
Is there a player named Wisdom? I was so
like
confident.
3.
Giants
4.
Wisdom? And he's a jungler too? Oh my god, that was weird. All right, yeah. Dreams, who's on that roster, who just got his start and wanted, is trying to fit in. Is it Johnson, who's in the middle of his sophomore slump? Is it Palafox, who's getting his first chance to start? Jose Dioto, who just came over? Or Licorice, who should know better? And that's the reason why I
engage. Well, I mean, I think that they all committed to it. They're like Dreams just saw like 5 people grouped up. But let me tell you, that engage mid from Dreams was more illegal than whatever that guy did in fucking Minecraft. That was fucked up. So yeah, rough one. Just wait for your sideways, please.
All right. And then speaker, closer, Santorin, Blabber. To close it out, they're dumb. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll say Jose.
Really.
I mean, Jose 7 instead of 6. Like that's the only thing that I think I had different when I was.
I think Jose like. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Jose just plays solo queue on stage, and then also like he does some things that trigger me super hard. Like he doesn't use target champion only ever when he's diving, and he just hits the turret with his Hecker Me like every single dive, which is really really triggering the players.
Target champ only seems like it's the next mechanic thing that like a lot of players don't use, but they should. It reminds me of F keys like in recent years.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
It's bad. I know.
Well, but I mean, the thing is, like, there's and like you can make the argument against F keys that there's like a way you can click lanes that you're around, right? Like you can click on the lanes and it's like you don't lose much if you are actually jungling, right? But like there's no other thing you can do besides for target champion only.
So there's a couple of I think overlooked things about F keys. So for instance, a lot of top players will hold down spacebar, right, when they're playing. Mm-hmm. When they're in laning phase, they'll hold down spacebar. When you F key, you actually get to see what they're seeing if they're holding a spacebar, which actually lets you know what exact intel that they have observable to them in their own screen. F keys are also objectively more efficient in terms of speed. Like that's not arguable. F keys are just faster.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to look at though, because like a lot of times I don't want to look at the center of the champion. Like I want to look at like the wave or like the enemy champion, or I want to look at like a ward that somebody's crossing. Like, so I mean, like there's times where
that could
like
be
even
fine.
if you are like using F keys, like you're gonna also have to look at the map, right? Like the enemy jungler crosses a ward, you can't F key to the enemy jungler. So
yeah,
I mean, I think that there's definitely like uses for both, but I mean, like my whole point is that there's an alternative to F keys. There's no alternative to target champion only, right? Like there's no way that you can get the result. Yeah, like just click the right thing, forehead.
Yeah, just click the right thing, idiot.
I mean, true.
And then just smite the fucking camp. Like what? Like
yeah, true. No, just just don't eat the turret.
Just last hit the minion. Chovy advice.
Yeah, that's my thing that I'm gonna be just going on. I'm because we've seen it happen more in NA than in other regions. I mean, we saw it with a bot dive from FBI where he just eat the turret instead of the champion in a dive that Closer did, and it would have just been a free kill.
All right, I was gonna segue something, but
I thought you were gonna say something there. For me, this was definitely one of those cases of like, hey, can I copy your homework? Yeah, sure, but don't make it too obvious. I actually submitted this one before Dom did, so I was surprised how similar it was. And again, from my non-high level or deep dive analysis, the biggest one was Dardoch for me. I was thinking like, hey, Dardoch has had high highs and had some like throws, but he's saved them in several games. So again, kind of going what you say, LS, valuing stability a little bit more. That's why I have Dardoch down there, and I'm so used to putting Spica lower, but Spica had a good split. Like I'm proud of seeing Spica like step up and fill this gap there.
And his team stopped sabotaging him every single game. Like the beginning, like that lock-in tournament was probably the most egregious thing I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
it was just like they were just like, hey, do you want Gnar and Orianna with like ganking junglers every game? It's like, yeah, sure. Like I'll just do it. That feels miserable.
Then no setup for him.
Yeah.
And then let's see. I put Jose at 6 because it felt like when I think about that FlyQuest roster, who does help them out to carry, whereas Svenskeren, I felt like, again, one of those things where he has better lanes to help set him up. And I feel like I remember multiple times, and maybe this is because he's fallen around Jizuke around the map, where he's just dying in the river or like in a aggressive spot for something that seemed harmless and then just gets caught and died. It feel like it happened a lot more this split than it did in previous splits, especially knowing him as a vet, as someone that is willing to play around the map. And then with Broxa coming in, it's changed CLG. That's why I have him higher. Xerxes, I cannot remove the image of him farming CLG's red buff while CLG was on the bottom side of the map shoving in and ending the game. Like that to me was just like pretty troll. And then Iconic is developmental roster. And I hope that he continues to grow and learn, have opportunities next split. And I don't know. Golden Guardians, the end. So, yeah, this is our tier list. Make sure to hit us up on Twitter and in the comments section over at VENN Esports. I've been doing Digon vs. Commenters, so anything else that you want to hit in about this episode and about tier list, how we make the show, all that stuff, I usually respond to those things. And if anything really good comes up, I shoot it on over to LS and Dom.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that you're both fucked because we have a lot of similar placings and 99% of my placings are wrong. So just want to let you know. You guys are both great entertainers. I had a lot of time here with you guys. A lot of people in chat have been entertained, but you're both fucked.
Yeah, that's the point of the show. It's entertainment, right? At the end of the day. So
that's it.
We did our job.
Do it for
Unless
the
it's
walls.
99% wrong, so. Yeah.
Jeez.
What, you triggered? What like you just can't handle being wrong or what?
All right. That is the show for this week, man. That was a 2-hour show with a bathroom break in there, so that maybe it's not as long as it was, but definitely submit your ideas for let's see, losing for shopkeeper, tweet of the week. What are other segments that we have? What are we gonna name this? Name that pro, the LS files, LCS files. Like that is gonna be super fun.
We're gonna
I love stuff
get
like
DMCA'd.
No, only if it's just that little part. I think
Okay.
you only get DMCA'd like 5 seconds afterwards, or for 5 seconds or more. I'm kind of making that up too. Anything else to close out the day? I know we did this a little bit later on Thursday, but what do you have for the rest of the week for people to look forward to, LS?
I mean, me and Dom are both co-streaming, right, on the weekend. I think I'm doing it with Crowny and Nemesis this week. I don't know if I'll have other guests, but I think they're both there. I have a T1 co-stream in 15 hours, or 14 hours, actually. I have T1 co-stream in 14 hours that I have to get ready for, and then hopefully Heat and Water, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
Never gone...
So so in 14 hours, will that technically be 7 days since your last shower? Will that be the week-long no shower stream?
Yep.
Holy shit!
Wait, are you co-streaming from T1?
No, I co-stream from here.
Okay,
I'm gonna freeze my butt off. You know,
you're gonna go to T1 and just be like walking in with like this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, guys, give me a hug. High five.
What was the guy from? Oh God, from
okay,
from
worst case
Peanuts?
scenario. Worst
Pigpen?
case, because I
Is that who it is?
yeah I have to go there. I have to go there Saturday for like a little while. Worst case scenario is so T1 has the Nike gym in the basement and it has like the sauna and all the showers and stuff. I'll just go there and use that. Yeah. They have the fully fledged out, decked out Nike gym with the sauna, the showers, and other stuff, right? And I'll probably just go there. Yeah, I'll probably just go there and use that if I don't have a shower beforehand. Yeah. But the thing is that it's 2 hours away to get there. It's 2.5 hours. Like I don't want to travel 2.5 hours just to go.
I'm sure whoever sits next to you on the train doesn't want to have to be there.
No, I take a taxi. COVID. I have to take taxi.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like an expensive ass taxi.
Yeah,
Dom,
it is.
Dom, what you got for the rest of the week before? What do you got for the rest of the week?
I got my
Taxi
co-stream.
driver.
Yeah, dude.
Got my co-stream. I'll be doing probably LPL VOD review tomorrow. We got some good LPL games coming up. So yeah, I'll just be doing VOD review, co-stream, and then I have my fixing an A that I got to shoot today.
All right, sweet, man. Well, sounds like everyone's got a lot of stuff going on. Again, over at VENN Esports, drop that cartoon, still scaling. We have our LCS awards, LEC awards. And then this weekend, again, watching the matches, and it'll be a lot of fun. We'll have Facecheck, hopefully. Well, again, LS will be in touch, hopefully. You'll have your place set up and water and internet and all that stuff so that we can get this rolling on Monday next week.
My heat and water get set up on Tuesday.
All right. Looks like we're going to talk offline later about when we're going to do this. Or run it back with a no shower blanket stream. Okay. Everyone, thank you so much for being here with us today. This was a lot of fun. We'll be back sometime next week. So watch out for the tweets with the first round of the playoffs and the winners bracket first rounds, breaking everything down. Until then, we'll catch you later. See ya.
Thanks for checking out VENN Esports. Want more of my beautiful smiling face? Of course you do. You're in luck though. Hit that subscribe button to explore the rest. They're kind of in this box here. They're in this box. I'm in a box. Ah! Ah!